Hey peeps, Tyler here with my story growing up with religion until now so far, being disabled and queer. I have written it, so I'm sure you'll notice me reading it. But yeah, I'm gonna start with my birth because it's relevant. My mom worked in a glass factory when she was pregnant with me. She told me she worked in some sort of chicken coop or something. Anyway, the lead filled with air was going into the water that she was drinking, her and other workers. I was born in February of '89, so most of her pregnancy with me was in '88. They've known lead was dangerous for a very long time now, though. So once a year, apparently, they tested their employees' lead levels. Somehow they could test hers and mine when she was 2 or 3 months pregnant with me. Both of ours was very high. The doctors told her to quit working there, and she did. Someone told her our levels was so high that she should have been dead or a vegetable, and I should have been a miscarriage. As it is, it did affect her memory. I hate to say this because I actually like having aphantasia, but I have complete aphantasia, whereas my mom can visualize some. However, before the lead poisoning, she could visualize more than she can now. So it affected her, a grown-ass adult. If it affected her, a grown-ass adult, what do you think it did to me, not yet born? I was born with Bacterial Association. I won't go into all the details here, but I have a playlist of videos talking about my medical issues and Bacterial Association on my other channel, Literary Stoner, if you want. I'll link it in the description. Long story short, I got a lot of medical issues and have always been disabled. I didn't know it until my 30s, but I'm also neurodivergent. That, I'm positive, is genetics, by the way. However, because of the lead poisoning being known before birth, they did check me out when I was born, knowing I was going to be born with issues, and many of my issues line up perfectly with the first few months of pregnancy. They tested my brain waves too, apparently, and they were normal. Academically, my brain was untouched, which I was told baffled people, but when I looked it up, the brain develops later from what I saw. Not an expert on that, just saying, so I don't know. But physically, I'm a mess. Anyway, my mom also told me when she found out about the lead poisoning, she went to church and prayed for the lead poisoning to leave. She said that the pastor laid his hand on her and prayed. She said she felt the lead draining out of her body, actually felt it. And they tested her lead levels both before she did that, and both of ours were very high, and neither of us left unscathed from it. And after she prayed, when suddenly our lead levels were negative. Actually negative. That's not normally even possible. You can think whatever you want, it's true. I have chronic pain and am permanently disabled for my entire life. At the same time, I shouldn't even be here. At all. My mom told me about people who had miscarriages when she was working there. Logically, I should have just been another miscarriage there. I wouldn't have been the only one. Now, I grew up Christian. My family mix of Baptist and Pentecostal and some other denominations, but Baptist and Pentecostal is what I interacted the most with. As a kid, I didn't question anything. Why would I? I was a kid. Kids don't question what they are told, generally. Now, if you didn't already notice from the channel title, I'm a trans man. It's a long story where at 13, I thought I was a bisexual girl and now realize I'm a straight trans man. I actually have a video about that on my other channel, Literary Stoner, as well, that I'll link. At some point I'll do an updated video, probably. Anyway, at 13, being a girl, I realized I was very attracted to girls, and no matter how you spin it, that made me queer. Being disabled was bad enough. No one understood me. Doctors looked at me like I had 3 heads all the time because they'd never heard of my rare medical issues. I was treated like a science experiment by doctors as a child. No privacy at all. Though I see it's gotten worse for disabled kids now in the age of social media, at least I'm old enough to have avoided that. So being undiagnosed neurodivergent also didn't help. Now I had to be queer too? A horrible, disgusting, evil sin? That's what I was told. I've since heard things about the Bible getting taken wrong, misinterpreted, etc. that I need to research, but suffice it to say I no longer think that it's a sin. But I did back then. I'm not even Christian anymore. I used to hate Christians in general, but I don't anymore because I realize life is more gray than that, and there are wonderful Christians and horrible ones. I hate the harm Christianity has done as an organized religion. I hope that makes sense. Back then, though I thought I was obviously horrible and disgusting. I got the message loud and clear that if I just prayed hard enough, God would fix me and turn me straight. Ha! I guess he answered my prayers after all. I just had to turn into a man first. Now I am straight. Take that, queerphobes. However, I think that's because I got it wrong at 13. I wasn't a bisexual girl. I was a lesbian. Cis heteronormativity shoved up my butt, plus sex dysphoria making it all worse and confusing, and I was young, and didn't have all the words we do now, like dysphoria. Did not know that word. I couldn't deny my attraction to girls, it was too strong. But I could at least lie, to others and to myself, about being attracted to guys. Turns out I just wanted to be one, and that was it. I prayed every single night, crying my eyes out as a young teenager, asking God to turn me straight, which is now hilarious and ironic. Asking why me, please fix me. I was given a teen Bible. It had extra stuff to help me understand it, so it said. On my 13th birthday, I read it. It had a yearly schedule thing, I believe. I read it all and then read it again. Everything at least twice all the way through, and some parts more than that, which obviously took me a couple of years. That was 13, 14, into 15. I couldn't help seeing contradiction after contradiction. I saw an angry, hateful God, not a loving one. Reading the Bible didn't turn me to God. It turned me away from him. No matter what I did, I couldn't unqueer myself. I also found a book, one of my stepsister's friends, actually. I temporarily stole it with the intent to put it back once I'd read it, but I got caught and got in trouble. Anyway, that book was Wicca by Scott Cunningham. I did read it all the way through before I got caught. I read it so fast, though, and was so young I didn't understand everything and got caught trying to read it a second time. Too late, though. I had already finished it, parents. But, I was 13 when that happened, by the way. What I did get from it felt so much more like home. I would eventually go on, as an adult in my 20s, to buy it and a sequel, Living Wicca. I've read both more than once now. At 16, I became an atheist. After years of trying so hard, I gave up. I couldn't believe in anything anymore. I was already depressed as a queer disabled Christian, though, but then giving up completely made it even worse. I truthfully wanted to learn about paganism, but of course I couldn't. That wasn't an option. When I was 12, my mom and stepdad and I started going to this Pentecostal church. Some lady at the church gave me the first Harry Potter book. They were nice in front of her, but in the car they took it away from me. I was an adult in my mid-20s before I finally read Harry Potter. And now, because of the J.K. Rowling crap, I've only read and watched it once. That's it. Back in 2015. I loved it, but haven't been able to return a second time after being denied what's considered a millennial thing of having read and seen Harry Potter growing up. I wanted to, but wasn't allowed. I'm 36. Yeah, I said earlier I was born in 89. See, I came across Buffy the Vampire Slayer on TV. I was already over 14 when I came across it, the age for which it's rated. I wasn't allowed to watch it. I have now since obviously read or watched Buffy more than once, about Buffy. But yeah, I know I wasn't in the worst household or anything, but you can see I couldn't look into paganism. Not until I was an adult. At 13, I chose to be baptized. Something I said then because the people at church would say it now makes me sick. It was about the fact that the doctors had expected me to not even be able to walk. I have limited mobility, but I can walk. A little. With pain. Less pain when I was a kid, but still. As if God doesn't love the too disabled or something? As if we aren't all God's children? Didn't they also say that all the time? Sure didn't act like it. Please remember I'm only talking about my own personal experiences. At 13, my stepdad got cancer. Eventually, they stopped going to church, but I continued, even though I no longer believed. Once I got, 16, I was still going, despite not believing anymore. Simply to get out of the house, have somewhere to go, someone to talk to at all. I was a shy outcast. It was better than nowhere and no one. That stepdad passed away when I was 16, almost 17. In my 20s, I finally researched paganism. I read some books, including the one I'd read at 13 and gotten in trouble for. It felt like home. Stuff started to make sense. I practiced on and off, but mostly off. I kept wanting to practice to celebrate the Sabbats and Esbats, but I just kept not, for the most part. I believed that we have souls, and I believed in reincarnation. I was no longer an atheist. I would say I was Wiccan, I learned about it and everything. I was just very inconsistent and lazy with practicing. By the way, you're welcome here on this channel no matter what you believe, as long as you're not an asshole. Which I know that's vague, but I'm trying to foster a community of people who simply want to learn from each other. It still wasn't enough to lift the cloud of depression, though. That would take me into my 30s and realizing I'm transsexual and needed to transition. Now I'm finally thriving and living. It did, however, help a lot. And when I say depression, I mean it. I spent years, about 2 decades, with thoughts of wanting to unalive myself. I never attempted it, but I thought about it. I wrote a note or two even. Never attempted it, though. Did everything else besides attempt it. After a house fire, September 8th, 2012, I was on trazodone for 11 years. I'm finally off of it. I got it because of PTSD nightmares and not being able to sleep, but eventually realized it was an antidepressant as well. It made me feel very tired all day, every day though, as if I don't get enough of that from my medical issues and chronic pain. I started testosterone February 2nd, 2023. I don't think that has anything to do with what I'm about to say, just want the order of things to be known because reasons. In the fall of 2024, I had a spiritual awakening. It was weird, actually. I wasn't even meditating at the time, though I had recently started to meditate. I was looking at something, I won't say what, but it triggered a knowing. Claircognizance, it's apparently called. I knew a past life of mine. Wasn't a bad person or anything. Good, actually, but it still sent me on a spiral. Even good people are human, after all. At one point, I was begging to be shown I was delusional. Instead, only the opposite kept happening. I had an existential crisis and screamed out of the void, so to speak. Yes, spiritual awakenings can come with an existential crisis. In fact, I think it's common. It's just not very often talked about. Unless potentially on the subreddit. But I also got obsessed with astrology. For the past few months of 2024, I was devouring all I could on astrology. I'm still learning, still a beginner, but holy shit, the things I've already seen. In my own chart and my husband's, yes, I was married to a man who I did love but wasn't actually sexually attracted to. He passed away in 2021, and I was devastated when he passed. Love is separate from sexual attraction, though now sexual attraction feels like an important part of a relationship. But past that digression, the things I've already seen in my chart, in his chart, and my mom's and dad's, and more. My husband, my south node is Virgo. His north node and sun and Lilith were Virgo. He was a Pisces rising. I've been surrounded by Virgos, even more than I knew because Virgo moons and risings. I've been surrounded by Virgos and always said when people asked, yeah, he's a Virgo, but he doesn't act like one. His Lilith. Now I see why. He's shown Pisces energy, his rising. So kind and loving, he was teaching me how to be my north node. Did I teach him how to be his? I don't know. But I've seen enough that I'm certain either he was meant to die then, dear Lord, the things I've seen with death astrology in our charts. And I wasn't even really looking. Or it was at least a huge possibility. Not sure why. Couldn't we have just gotten divorced when I realized I'm a straight trans man? Did he really have to die? But there's things I'll never know as a human. That's part of being human. Like I said, I know now that we're all love in the whole universe. This is a digression. Anyway. I've kept meditating, I'm still learning, and have much to learn. Not just about meditating, though that too, but also all things spiritual and religious. Seriously, I want to learn as much as I can. That's why I made this channel, to share what I learn and create a community of others who want to learn from each other. As I've continued to meditate and learn, I've gotten some downloads. I used to think people talking about downloads were being silly, but I get it now. Meditating and just being in peace and solitude, getting in touch with nature and the universe, the essence of God, of the divine. Our lives are often go, 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 fast, 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 not allowing us to cultivate that silence and peace necessary. I now know that we're all one, all interconnected. It's even science. See my review, Proof of Heaven, on here. I'll link it in the description. I'm actually filming this before it even posts. It'll post in like 45 minutes. But the review will be up before this video, so. Proof of Heaven is by a neurosurgeon, as it says, Proof of Heaven, a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife by Eben Alexander. It's by a neurosurgeon who had been an atheist after all he was a scientist. Then he had a coma where, unlike most coma patients, his neocortex was entirely offline. meaning he shouldn't have been able to have a near-death experience. According to what he thought, they were a product of his sick brain doing shit in coma, but stuff that still required the neocortex to be functioning. His wasn't functioning at all. And he had a near-death experience. And he shared his story in his book, and I reviewed it in depth, reading stuff from it. Again, link in the description if you want to check it out. Science and spirituality are one and the same. The divine, God, created science. Who do you think created everything? The science and math of it all. Like, if you believe in the divine, why would you not believe in science? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you believe in the divine, who would have created everything? I also realize now that we're all truly part of God. You know, God's children. Literally. Like water droplets being picked from an ocean. The droplets are still from the ocean. Our souls are like water droplets from the ocean of the divine, of God. I've read Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. I read it on Kindle and then had to buy it physically, which is the only reason this isn't annotated, because my Kindle copy is. This is the first in a trilogy, and I still need to read the other two, but I do have physical copies of them as well. Your Soul's Gift and Your Soul's Love. This opened my eyes to so many things. I need to reread it and annotate this copy. The Proof of Heaven book is a library book, hence why that is also not annotated, because that needs to be returned to the library. I now truly believe that I decided to be born in this mind and body before I was born. That I have my reasons, my lessons, my past life experiences, though I also don't believe everyone is necessarily interested in reincarnation. Sometimes someone may only come here for one life. The universe is vast and mysterious, however, I firmly believe I have reincarnated, along with many other people. Do you know how empowering that is? To know that I chose this body, this life, despite its hardships, even because of them actually, for a reason? That it didn't just happen to me, I chose this for a reason, for a purpose. To me at least, that is incredibly empowering. I used to think it felt like I had two forces. One was trying to keep me alive, and one was trying to kill me. I thought the force trying to kill me was the good force, trying to put me out of my misery. But the force keeping me alive wouldn't let it. It would cackle with evil glee. That's honestly how it felt most of my life. But now I know that there is no force trying to kill me, but there is a force keeping me alive. And that force isn't evil. That force is me. It's my own soul. Has been all along. I've also read, this one is annotated, Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian L. Weiss. I have a book review on my other channel, Literary Stoner, because when I read it, I hadn't created this channel yet and didn't know I was going to. I'll link it in the description as well. So, like, I know that's not a lot, but like I had said before, I'm just beginning. And so that's where I'm at now. Now I'll just call myself spiritual. Pagan in general still works too. I know I'm just at the beginning of a new journey. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if there's something you want to see a video on. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to. And have a blessed day. Namaste.